For consideration of Midwest Speedfest 2025, I present to you the Trench Run Skip category of Star Wars Trilogy, Apprentice of the Force for the Game Boy Advance. It is slightly different from the other category that you may have seen earlier, which is the regular Beat the Game category. Trench Run Skip has a little bit of extra preparation ahead of time, and you'll get to see it right now as I take care of one necessary replay for the particular intended setup to work. Trench Run Skip was recently discovered about 2 years ago. It involves doing a replay of the speeder chase in episode 6 on an already completed file, and once that's all done with, you delete another save file and start the run. And you'll see why it's called Trench Run Skip soon enough. But we have to do the setup for it first. We're going to be taking care of that right now. This is really zero stakes as far as this particular setup goes. It's just get through it. It doesn't matter how many deaths you get. It's actually good practice for the run itself. Speeder chase isn't necessarily the most predictable component of the game, so it's good to just refresh yourself to what your surroundings look like. That particular log fun fact in my take for the normal category, I forgot it existed, and I accidentally ran into it at the end, which did lose me about 40 seconds. Deeply unfortunate, but I didn't have to worry about a death at the very end, or having to manipulate for that. Alright, that all taken care of. We're pretty low on health, so I'm just going to, for the sake of the recording itself, spend a little extra time going into it. Alright, so I'm just going to immediately crash here. This is the last segment of the speeder chase. We just have a little bit of some smart little scout trooper blindsided me at the end. That does happen every now and then. It's good to know about when I get into the actual run itself. That should be the end of this particular chase. Yep. So the setup for the run itself is done. We do not time for that. We just simply have to show it off and then get the actual run in question started. So I'm going to enter in my initials. This category is pretty much like the original category with one added twist we'll talk about a little bit later. In the meantime, we'll get started with this run in 3, 2, 1, go. You know the drill if you watch the normal category. We're running through all 3 of the original episodes of Star Wars on the Game Boy Advance. Episodes 4, 5, and 6. And it presents one of the first, main components in between each of the runs, which is we're doing a lot of tech smashing. There is static tech smashing, which is in the cutscenes you just saw right there, and then dynamic tech smashing, which is when you're in an in-game cutscene. This is a pretty introductory section. Nothing too much to say right now. It's just kind of get to the cutscene where you talk to your uncle, and he's just like, I need some stuff taken care of. And Luke is just like, oh, please, why do we have to do that right now? I don't care. And then, well, R2 got captured by Tusken Raiders. So that's always fun. This is the first true test as to whether you're going to be ready for the run. And that was the hardest jump in the first episode. It is deceptively difficult to get the perfect timing on that, and I've missed it many times. We call that an auto reset point if you miss it in, PB or a world record attempt, so it's just really important that you're hitting it. these Tusken Raiders, they're pushovers. Not really that difficult to deal with. The way you can easily get kills on them is if they're taunting, it's a one-hitter. They usually take 2 hits otherwise. And you can see kind of just some essential components of this game in the very first episode. And that's the end of that segment. Biggest thing is just knowing when to diagonally shoot. That was a pretty tight entry level jump. And we're done with that second section. Honestly, the GBA sound effect for the Tusken Raiders is pretty entertaining, and this is the only section you get to hear it on, sadly. That was a bit tougher than it looks. And that's the boss fight down. Just a few more Tusken Raiders to take care of, and then we're out of here. Given no steam hits me, we should be just fine. And, yep. We're just fine. That's the end of the first section. Now we're going to be going way faster from here on forward due to the rush ability. We're going to be doing a whole lot of dashing once we ditch our astromech droid R2. R2-D2 in our community is known as Slow 2-D2. That was the nickname given by another runner by the name of Smart Alex. Shout outs to him. We're going to be ditching R2 for this section. We'll get back to him later because there's really no harm in doing so. And this right here introduces what elevator cycles are like. And you want to be at the elevator and hope that you get the good timing on R2 making an entrance. Because sometimes it can cause you to lose a whole lot of time. So, because R2 is way too far away, we have to wait on our friend just a little bit, and then do that. And the elevator should come up soon. Yep, there we go. No issue with that. And R2 will always be on time for these elevator sets, most of the time. Not always true, but most of the time. I've seen some bizarre cycles where it's not true. So I think the only major difference with blue blaster ammo compared to normal blaster shots is that it's like ever so slightly faster, and you can shoot diagonally while moving. Set here to get through. And we're done with that section of Tatooine. We still got a bit of some stuff to take care of, like selling the land speeder, so we can board the Millennium Falcon. That jump is not easy, but we're generally able to get it most of the time. That allows us to pick a health upgrade. That was a bit tight. Probably shouldn't have gone for it in the first place, but I wanted to do some fancy footwork for a little bit, just to show just kind of how quickly the game can move at certain times. see if I can make it through this section without a death. It would be very convenient if I could. There is a big make or break section right here. Oh, we didn't get it the first time. We have one more chance. There we go. And that is one of the very few skips in this game that allows us to skip a set of encounters with the stormtroopers. Oops, I paused a little bit. I will miss the earliest possible elevator cycle just due to that. As you can see, it just boarded up slightly after I finished the encounter set there, which it's fine. Slightly inconvenient, but we can deal with the time loss later. Okay, so there are a few sections where I didn't get quite the most optimal jumps. But that's fine, we'll deal with it later. That was a very good early jump. And that health upgrade, that health healing item was just to make sure that I didn't completely die on this last encounter here, but that's fine. Should be a-okay. Forward, got the land speeder now, and we're going to be boarding the Millennium Falcon so we can get the heck off this planet. We got a little bit of an escape sequence we have to do here. Whoops. Accidental shot there. Do I need to jump up here? Yes, I do. Alright, and we are out. I've gone unusually fast on that segment for both world records. It's one of my best performing segments in the early game. And also, Boba Fett, for some reason, is an episode too early. No big deal. I don't know. They couldn't find, like, an asset for the other bounty hunter that was spying, so, yeah, I guess, oh. Okay, a few bullets lost here. That's fine. The Death Star is filled to the brim with just many ways that you can die here. Like pitfalls. First time we've seen a few of those. We were being a little sluggish here with make sure I got the tag for that one. encounters here. Make sure I just have a perfect timing on the roll. And then there's going to be some stormtroopers up top and a few on the sides. Immediately dash down here, do a somersault, and activate the right side first. Take care of the other side. This is the easiest and least riskiest way of getting through here. Grab that blaster ammo. Got a bit of an encounter here. Bit of a somersault there. The green blaster ammo is very important to just conserve appropriately. Make sure that I get the right somersault timing. There we go. And then just make sure I have a preemptive jump here. And then grab a few more blaster ammos. So you don't have to go that close to the switch, but should be close enough where you can go. Got that all taken care of. And I'm just going to make sure that I do that. Shoot that stormtrooper for good measure so we get good ammo. Grab that. And then immediately somersault when we get the chance to. And slow 2 D2s back in our possession. Just protect the D2 at all times. Oh, we missed out on the elevator cycle. Either way, so I guess it doesn't matter all that much for our sake. Make sure our droid joins us down below. R2 will unlock this wave bridge, and we're gonna let R2 join us here. Ah, man, I missed out on the good, the best possible elevator cycle there. It would have been perfect. I had the perfect timing on the blaster, not to go too far away from R2, but not too close to the switches themselves. So here's a fun little cutscene homage. That stormtrooper is the one that shows up just like in the movies. And then... and that's the end of the Death Star, part 1. We got one more part, and we got an assistant who's way more helpful. Princess Leia has a blaster, so we only have to focus on shooting in one direction. Alright, well, Princess Leia does not need to heal. We can take care of the healing for her. Got a bit of an orchestrated cutscene here. Got it immediately. I'm maybe a little worried. Okay. For some odd reason, she was not shooting in the other direction, which is very uncharacteristic. We got that all sorted out. And then we got a little bit of a variation on the first two areas, which is to shoot forward and then shoot diagonally. With this one, it's 2 diagonals, and then there's a full set of diagonals. Ooh, whoa, one of them missed, unusually. And we're not going to worry about healing anymore. We're at the end of this section. Only a slight time loss since Princess Leia did stop shooting in the appropriate direction during one of the encounters, which it's alright, I guess. Now we got a tough part of the game. TIE Fighter roundups, which, as you may know, they're technically demanding, and sometimes there's just dumb luck involved in certain aspects of them. I'm going to focus on chasing down this set. Give my bit of time to just sort of crowd them in. I do a bit of a lasso movement, and then whatever one's still closest, I'll just go after. Let them regather their bearings. Alright. This might be one of the earlier deaths, just due to how sloppy this has been so far. Alright. We're in a significant amount of danger. Sure gets to be a lot less funny if you're on low health the whole time and R2 is not doing an appropriate job killing. That was extremely scrappy, but it got the job done, so that's a good... This may be perhaps one of the fastest, segments of the TIE Fighter roundup I've ever had, if I get this. Key thing being if I get it, of course. That was incredibly fast, all things considered. And if the setup was done correctly, which it was, we skip the entirety of the trench run segment itself. The reason for this, I believe, is very similar to why Luke Skywalker can get a lightsaber as early as Episode 4 if you replay the Darth Vader fight of Episode 5 on a completed file, and then start a new file right after. There seems to be just bonus little adages that the creators inserted. I'm not sure if this one's exactly intended, but some of them appear to be. Alright. Alright, off we are. Yeah, pretty relatively fast. And now we're done with the first episode, and we got another one coming up next. Episode 5 is the episode where we finally get a lightsaber, and that's going to change a lot of the combat tech for a majority of the next part. As you can see, this is one of the first major pieces of lightsaber tech that we do use, which is the uppercut. And the uppercut is a very useful ability to have down pat. We'll be using it a lot during the first half of this second episode. Down we go here. We don't technically have to fight all the Wampas, but it's just good practice. Just to make sure that your uppercut tech is in good condition. That jump can be a little tough, and as a beginner you can easily miscalculate it, but we got it first try. So, with those pitfalls that you saw right there, as long as you're mostly to the side, you will be given safety much of the time, like 90%. As you can see here, just a few more of these before we get to the next phase, which is just another surprise pit, which is why you don't want to dash too crazy. So we take care of one side first. Oh, wow. Surprising that they didn't completely get taken care of there. That was a pretty efficient section we played there. Snowtroopers only take one lightsaber uppercut, so that's what we do. We do a lot of uppercutting, whether it be crossing from side to side like so, or just taking care of one side and then following it up with yet another side. And then we switch immediately to blaster right after. We can use a bit more of it right here. And we'll take care of the bottom side first, and then take care of the top. Whew, that was a little risky. I'll just make sure to cross up here. We do need to destroy that Snowtrooper in order to advance. always get a little worried that I'm accidentally going to dash into the void. So that's why I paused just a little bit. It's a natural response in Marathon for me to just have a very slight second guess. And that's the end of the first Hoth section. We're going to be going right into the AT-ATs, and they can be a fun time if you're not paying careful attention. But we need to pay careful attention this whole time. But yeah. Each of them has varyingly different cycles. We need to, most of the time when it's approaching the half point, make the jump like so. It allows us to grab yet another health pack. We need to get all the health upgrades that we possibly can. And we're coming up on a section I like to call the Leap of Faith. We land at the very edge of the other side when it looks like it's impossible to land. And you get used to it eventually. You're able to hit it every single time once you get used to it. As you may have noticed, I was kind of just being a little goofy and swinging the lightsaber around to the melody of the song. Make sure I get that leap of faith right there. Make sure I get underneath them. It's fun to swing the lightsaber around to the music, but I still need to make sure that I am not choking an entire 2 minutes of time to that section right there. I'm going to take care of one side first. I tend to forget that one of the areas has slightly more than another. And what I do here is I take care of this side first. And use my blaster to avoid having to make a prerequisite appearance on that side. Take care of this. I forgot, I don't have the hammer blow quite yet. Just to make sure I destroyed that stormtrooper right up there. Conquer and divide accordingly. And then we got a barrage of enemies that we have to fight here. A few of them can be taken care of. And we're done with that section. So, because I took a little bit of caution here and there, did not go all the optimal, but I avoided any devastating deaths, so that's good. And now we're doing some training on Dagobah. Just a bit of dashing to get to the Jedi Master himself. Got a bit of some dynamic text to make it through, while Yoda talks about the Force, saying it's like you gotta be hardcore. So we're going to be using force push every now and then, but only so much. This first section is kind of just like a sort of a vibe test. Use that. Get through that next section. This one's a little bit more challenging than the first section. There's less places to be able to just jump recklessly. This is the first one of very challenging jumps. On certain areas, you can just making sure that I jump so I don't get chided or chastised by Yoda for accidentally missing that section, because I have done that before. It wouldn't be the last time I could potentially do it again, so. I have a bit of a text. Yoda's pleading with us to not go to Cloud City, but we go to Cloud City anyways. Yeah. And it turns out it's a trap, just like the legend Akbar once said. And we're going to learn how to slow down the actual time itself. We don't ever use it. And yeah, it's a trap. So for those of you who are wondering, this is the last section we ever have to use R2-D2. So that's fantastic. R2, you have been slow. But that's alright. We can forgive you. You healed us during the other sections. It's not too much of a dawdle to have to get through these last few sections. We just have to make sure that the flying droids of death do not get them. So I'm just going to go down, ditch R2 for a moment here. We'll go back later. Hey friend, how are you doing? I'm going to go down here. This is the last time we have to deal with R2. After crossing through this door, that's it. And that's that. Now we got some pretty fantastic lightsaber abilities I'm about to talk about. The hammer blow is a really good one. You can cover twice as many enemies with it, thanks to its ability. And then there's the wheelie spin. Oh, and I forgot I have to take care of all of them. Disappointing, but it is what it is. That was a really, really speedy section there. Alright, well that one was being a little cheeky. This is a bit of a risky strat. And we got through it, no issue. I was hoping to get the very edge of the platform right there, but that's fine, I guess. What I've noticed is that sometimes if you're... Okay. Make sure that I... Whatever I was going to talk about, I kind of forgot. What I was originally going to say is sometimes you just have to be like cautious where you position yourself with there being guardrails. That way you don't accidentally grip a guardrail when you're trying to get a kill on a stormtrooper, and that is important. Cloud City is really the beginning of where the game requires like full concentration. And that was a decent handling. Nice double coverage. Not quite able to get the spin that I was looking for there. That's fine. I have to be a little careful there. I'm gonna purposely cover one side. When you're going off of ledge grabs, it's generally fastest to go into a hammer blow right afterwards. And, that's certainly what I did here. I'm always preemptively going one spin too early. And that is the end of Cloud City. We did pretty alright. Again, there were a couple of sections where it did slow down because I was thinking a little too hard, but that's fine. That's to be expected. After some dynamic text, we have to get some hits on Darth Vader. A few uppercuts will usually do the trick. And no carbonite freezing for us this time, which was good. working with a mix of above and just a bit below. And that was a very nicely handled section of just flurries of lightsaber tech for that particular set of encounters. And now we just have to pray to RNG that we get an immediate break of the window. And that was our wish granted. Kind of was happy that that happened right away. That's perfect, okay. The best possible spot. We perfectly manipulated Vader into being able to be at the right part of that fight, right there. Very well done. And that episode 5 was pretty solid. Only a slight amount of time lost there. Now we're on to episode 6, where it gets relatively intense. We have to go back to Tatooine, rescue our friends because they all got kidnapped like Dumbos. They're not dumb. Jabba the Hutt is just very smart. It's got a lot of hard-hitting enemies, and it's very possible we're going to have to do some force healing, depending on how scrappy I take this section. That health upgrade makes it pretty relatively free to get through that area here. Ooh, this is a little scary. Just playing it a little safe there. Okay, so it didn't matter all that much, because I accidentally mistimed where I was jumping. This is one of those levels where it's easy to miscalculate where you're going, and I most certainly did that. Had to be careful where I was jumping there. Just a bit of an encounter with Boba Fett before we go into this final battle. And the hammer blows are going to be the easiest way to deal with this fight. And aside from that one unfortunate death, I did pretty well in that section. Gamorreans are going to be a presence in the next auto-scroller after we're done with this particular mini-boss fight. RNG Incarnate, which is, of course, the Rancor. It's a fun time. Gonna take a few hits. Let it bring some rocks down. I'm gonna just let it do its thing. And hope I have enough rocks. And if If we don't, well, that's just too bad. Okay. And, yeah, perfect. About as good as I could ask for. Now we're on to the auto-scroller. We can get the Gamorrean out of the way immediately. It's kind of funny. Again, in auto-scroller, we're going to be focused on kind of just getting the most efficient wave patterns to take care of each of the baddies. And so far, we're handling very nicely. And from here on forward, everyone's favorite baddie, and Boba Fett will be showing up here. And that's the end of Boba Fett. We will not have to worry about him anymore. Need to get our last health refill right here. Have that all taken care of. There's a few more sets of these left to go. And I think this should be the last set coming up soon. A few more jumps and we'll be on our way out. And that was pretty par for the course. A very normal desert section. Now we're getting to what can be a major make or break, which is the land speeder chase on Endor, and there is a lot of reasons this can go badly. A, the scout troopers can give just total hell during the run, which is always possible. This is a perfect example of what they can do. They can give an unnecessary amount of resistance. You can forget what you are and run into just a whole bunch of just obstacles when you forget what you're doing. That was a particularly tough set of scout troopers to clear out. Didn't expect that much resistance, but here we are. I need to keep my eyes peeled, make sure I don't run into any obstacles. That's what this blaster is also useful for. Every now and then you can use it to destroy other enemies, but usually you just use it to sense where you're going next. We may have to go for a forced death if we keep on losing lives like this. Woo! That was a bit close. I will see if I can pull this off. I'm going to trust that I can, and if I don't, well, that's just fine. It is so easy to die here. Alright, as long as I don't screw around too much, I should be okay. Alright, fantastic. I'm just going to purposefully hit there right away, and we should be able to get through uneventfully. Those few blaster shots will sometimes allow us to get through the scout troopers a little bit faster. Not always true, but generally it is. It's in our best interest to just gun them down while we have the chance to. Remember what I'm doing. That's another thing. Perfect. Now we just need to make it out of here. And that's a goal. We did about as well as I could ask for in that particular segment. So we got some force blitzing, which allows us to just destroy a handful of enemies real quickly, like nobody's business. We'll need that. Make sure I don't accidentally run into that. Make sure that cutscene runs through. No problem there. Hammer blows are going to be fantastic. We don't want to use any force blitzing this early on. A little reckless here. And I'm just delaying the healing a little bit so I could get into an encounter sooner. We're coming up on big old stinging spiders, flying scorpions as I like to call them. They are just a little terrifying. We're going to purposely just kind of do a bit of some healing, so do a bit of some careful approaching there. Endor is one of those sections where you will very clearly notice I get a little bit more silent each time I get further in, because it's one of those segments where a lot of the lightsaber tech is now in play. You have to sort of concentrate on choosing between one combat technique or another, and it can be a matter of life or death. So it's very important for me to just stay locked and loaded in. Now we got bees coming up real soon. Going up right now. Didn't know why they didn't spawn immediately. Ah, the trolliest insect there was so far. Sometimes they will not appear right away. My general rule of thumb is that I go for about 4 healing bars. For some reason, that one can be immediately. And this one is already moving to begin with. Ooh, okay. That was actually really, really fast. I'm surprised at how well that was handled. And that should be enough healing to get the job done. This is one of the most challenging segments. You gotta be ready on the dial. I'm going to prioritize just getting through as quickly as possible. We'll see if that pays off for me. And we should be able to get through this last section pretty okay with that amount left. Saving just enough for here. Alright. We actually did a really fantastic job bringing it back. Quite the various splits, platitudes of improvement, and I don't think I'm going to go fast enough to get a new PB or world record here, but this was a great way to end. Very fast tech throughout, and can find somebody else to talk on my behalf. They'll have plenty to say while I lock in during that segment. Another reason is a lot of what you see in the first two episodes, like the episode 5 for Lightsaber Tech, is very similar to what you see in episode 6, but just with way bigger stakes. And that is an understatement when it comes to Endor. I can certainly say that with confidence. So we got one more fight, which is Vader, one more time. We're gonna kind of just go crazy. That was a really quick first phase. Doesn't oftentimes go that fast. Just gonna kind of mash as quickly as possible to see if I can get a miracle fight. So far, we're doing what we need to do. It's just 19 seconds is insurmountable to be able to bring it back. So put on a good, strong end to this submission at least. Now we're just gonna kind of uppercut. If all goes well, which it appears Vader is providing a fair amount of resistance. Although, that seems to be pretty much over. Yes, there we go. That's the end. Trench Run Skip went fairly nicely. I don't have too many major complaints aside from just a bit of some clumsiness in episode 4, but that's to be expected. It's one of my best performing episodes of the bunch. We're coming up on time when you see the celebration cutscene at the very end. And time. 105.33 for a submission take. That was good. Now, one thing that might be of interest is that despite being significantly faster than the regular category, I'm still giving an estimate of about 1:15, an hour 15. And this is taking into account that there is still the setup for the Trench Run Skip itself, and that does tack on a few minutes, so, you know, it makes perfect sense to account for that as well. And, with that being said, that is the Trench Run Skip category of the Star Wars Trilogy Apprentice of the Force as a submission. It could certainly be utilized as an incentive. If we wanted to have a donation incentive for this game to switch it over to Trench Run Skip, that could certainly be a thing. It is an interesting category because it allows for you to take way bigger risks in select areas, especially in terms of the TIE Fighter round. Because if you want it to be way more aggressive, you could be way more aggressive there. And you got to see a perfect example of me being very highly aggressive in that particular area, so. In the grand scheme of things, I think it's pretty darn similar to the normal category, just with that extra little skip added in there. it's really, really fun and cool to showcase, especially the BTS part of what causes the trench run to be skipped in the first place. And it's in that similar vein as why it's really cool to see the lightsaber pop out early in episode 4 if you do the extra fight setup with Darth Vader on a completed file beforehand. And it's a big part of it, so going into a bit of a slightly different take on the Star Wars canon. Luke Skywalker never went through the Death Star, he just went straight to Darth Vader. But with that all being said, that's the end of this submission recording for Trench Run Skip. I do thank you for watching it, and thank you for taking this into consideration, in addition to my other runs. And I wish you best of luck at getting through the selection process. That's it for me, and